All right, Patriots fans, buckle up because things are about to get interesting in Foxborough. We are now just 2 weeks away from the NFL trade deadline. And while this time of year usually doesn't set the league on fire with major deals, the past few seasons have been a different story. Teams are starting to realize that a bold move in late October can change the entire course of their season, whether it's to secure a playoff berth, chase a division title, or just send a message that they're all in. And believe it or not, the New England Patriots might just be one of those teams ready to shake things up. Let's be honest, not many people expected the Patriots to even be in this conversation a few months ago. This was supposed to be a rebuilding year, a season to figure things out, develop the young guys, and slowly climb back toward contention. But here we are, halfway through the season, and suddenly the AFC picture looks a little more open than anyone imagined. If the Patriots string together a couple of wins, with the lighter schedule ahead, it's not crazy to think they could be in the hunt for a top playoff spot. Now, the question that's hanging in the air is simple. Will New England make a move? And if so, how bold will it be? The name that's got everyone buzzing is Maxx Crosby. Yeah, that's right, one of the nastiest defensive ends in the game, a pure disruptor who plays every snap like his life depends on it. Now, the Raiders have publicly said they're not shopping him, that they're not taking or making calls about a potential trade. But come on, we've heard that story before. When teams issue those kinds of statements, it's usually just about keeping leverage and protecting value. If the right offer hits the table, nobody's truly off limits. And for a player like Crosby, who fits perfectly into what Mike Vrabel wants to build defensively in New England, the temptation has to be there. Imagine lining him up with Harold Landry and Clavon Chaisson, 3 explosive pass rushers that could turn this defense from good to terrifying overnight. Of course, pulling off a move like that would take a serious offer, one of those Godfather-type deals that make you stop and think twice. You're probably looking at giving up someone like Anfernee Jennings along with a first-round pick, maybe more. But here's the thing. If that first-rounder ends up in the 20s, are you really losing that much? Because if the Patriots are playing at that level, it means the pick isn't anywhere near the top 10, and that changes how you look at it. When you've got a lighter schedule and a young team that's gaining momentum, that's when front offices start asking themselves if it's time to push the chips in. Now, don't get it twisted. The Raiders aren't just going to hand over their star pass rusher. They've got Pete Carroll helping guide things, Tom Brady sitting in ownership meetings, and Mark Davis still trying to prove his team can compete. Trading Crosby would be the same as waving the white flag on their season. And that's a tough sell for any franchise, especially one still searching for stability. But from New England's perspective, it's the kind of phone call you keep making right up until the deadline. You keep checking in, seeing if anything changes, because if there's even a small window, that's the type of deal that could change the identity of your defense for years to come. Now let's flip it to the offensive side of the ball, because while rookie quarterback Drake may in the passing game have shown flashes of real promise, the running game hasn't quite found its rhythm. Ramondre Stevenson has had his moments, hanging onto the football and grinding out tough yards, but the depth behind him has been shaky. Trayvon Henderson hasn't really clicked in this system yet. Antonio Gibson's dealing with injuries, and Terrell Jennings is getting some snaps as a rotation back, but he might not be ready for that full workload. So the question becomes, should the Patriots try to bring in a big-time running back before the deadline? There's been some chatter about Breece Hall from the Jets. Now, let's be clear, New York hasn't said they're actively shopping him, but with their season going nowhere and a new quarterback situation after moving on from Justin Fields and naming Tyrod Taylor the starter, it wouldn't be shocking if they listened to offers. The thing is, trading a player like Hall within the division would be borderline insane for the Jets. They know exactly what kind of player he can be, and they definitely don't want to see him tearing them apart twice a year wearing Patriots colors. So even if New England put together a competitive package, say a 3rd and 5th round pick, or even a 2nd rounder, it's hard to imagine New York taking that deal over one from another team outside the AFC East. Honestly, from a value standpoint, it might not even make sense for the Patriots to go that route. Giving up major draft capital for a running back, unless it's a generational player, usually isn't the smartest move. And while Breece Hall has shown flashes of being that kind of back, he's not quite there yet. The Jets, on their end, already have Isaiah Davis from South Dakota State, who's shown he can step into a bigger role, and Braylon Allen waiting on injured reserve. So they're not desperate, and that makes a trade even less likely. If the Patriots really want to help Drake May, maybe the smarter move is at wide receiver. Jakobi Meyers is a familiar name, a guy who already knows the system and has chemistry with the organization. Or maybe even someone like Chris Olave, who's one of the most talented receivers stuck on a struggling team right now. Adding a proven playmaker like that could completely change the passing dynamic. Right now, Stephon Diggs has been a machine coming back from injury. Keyshawn Bout's numbers look great even with limited touches, and Pop Douglas is finally showing what he can do after that insane one-handed grab last week. But consistency is still missing, and that's where a veteran addition could help. At the same time, Josh McDaniels and this coaching staff have to find ways to adapt the system to their talent. Rookie receivers like Kyle Williams are still struggling to find a role, which shows that maybe the offensive scheme needs a little tweaking to truly unlock what these young players can do. Bringing a player like Olave or reuniting with Myers could be the spark that forces that kind of change, an adjustment that benefits everyone, especially May. The Patriots front office has to walk a fine line here. You don't want to mortgage the future for short-term excitement. The roster still isn't on the level of powerhouses like Kansas City or Detroit, and while the Patriots could be favored in most of their remaining games, nothing's guaranteed in the NFL. You play to win, but you also play smart. The sweet spot might be targeting mid-level deals, maybe a third and fifth-round pick combo, to land a starting caliber player who can make a real impact without crippling your draft flexibility. Because here's the truth, this team is ahead of schedule. They've built a foundation faster than expected. They've got a young quarterback who's already commanding the huddle, and the defense, when healthy, can hang with almost anyone. So instead of trying to swing for the fences and risk missing, the Patriots might be better off taking well-calculated shots, adding depth in the backfield, improving the trenches, and maybe finding one more playmaker to round things out. Sometimes, the smartest move is knowing when not to overreact. Now, that doesn't mean the Patriots won't be active. They've got players who could draw interest from other teams, called Duggar, Anthony Jennings, maybe even Jahlani Tavai. Each of those guys brings something to the table, but if another team values them more and you can get mid-round picks in return, it might make sense. At the same time, if those offers aren't strong enough, keeping them to build chemistry and depth makes just as much sense. It all depends on how Elliott Wolf and Mike Vrabel view the balance between competing right now and setting the stage for sustained success. So here's where things get really interesting for the Patriots. Everyone's talking about who they could bring in, but not enough people are talking about who they might send out. Every year around this time, teams start to quietly shop players, test the market, see who's interested, and the Patriots are no exception. They've got a few names that could draw attention, and it's not just the big stars. It's the kind of depth players who can fill roles on playoff rosters, the type of moves that might not make headlines on deadline day, but end up shaping how the rest of the season plays out. Kyle Duggar is one of the first names that comes up. He's a physical, downhill safety who fits the mold of that old-school Patriot defender. Tough, smart, and reliable. But with his contract situation up in the air and some younger talent emerging on defense, there's at least a chance New England listens to offers. Maybe a fifth-round pick, maybe a sixth, depending on the market. Duggar's the kind of player another team could see as a plug-and-play guy, someone who immediately upgrades a secondary that needs help. And if he puts on a show this week against Cleveland, that could easily raise his trade value just in time for the deadline. Anthony Jennings is another piece that might get moved. He's been solid, a strong rotational linebacker, but not necessarily someone locked in as a long-term part of the plan. If New England's looking to recoup mid-round picks, packaging him with another player could make sense. Even Jahlani Tavai, who's a hard-hitting presence, but maybe not the perfect schematic fit for what Mike Vrabel wants, could draw attention from teams running heavier defensive fronts. The beauty of having depth at those spots is flexibility, the ability to trade from strength without creating a hole you can't fill. Now, while trades are always about adding and subtracting, this deadline feels a little different for New England because of the tone surrounding the locker room. There's a new energy in Foxborough. The players believe they can win, the staff believes in the plan, and the fans, even the skeptical ones, are starting to feel that flicker of excitement again. Drake may has been a huge part of that. He's not just managing games, he's taking command. The accuracy, the confidence, the way he's handling pressure, it's everything you want to see from a young quarterback. So if you're the Patriots, you've got to think about what helps him most right now. That's why a move for another offensive weapon isn't off the table. Not necessarily a big splash, but maybe someone like Jerome Ford from Cleveland or another underrated back who can bring consistency behind Stevenson. Maybe a depth receiver who understands spacing and timing and can be that safety valve on third downs. That's the kind of smart, calculated addition that doesn't break the bank, but makes your offense smoother and more balanced. You can also expect New England to look closely at the trenches. The offensive line has been better lately, but depth is always an issue, especially once injuries start piling up late in the season. Same story on the defensive side. Another edge rusher or interior lineman could go a long way toward keeping that rotation fresh. Because if this team really wants to hang around in December and make noise in January, it's going to come down to the line of scrimmage. The Patriots win games when they dominate physically, and right now, they're one or two pieces away from being able to do that consistently again. Of course, all this speculation comes with the usual caveats. Bill Belichick may be gone, but the culture he built still shapes how New England operates. They're never going to panic. They're not going to throw draft capital around just because other teams are making moves. They play the long game. And with Elliott Wolf and Mike Vrabel leading the front office, that philosophy feels even more balanced, a mix of calculated aggression and measured restraint. You can see it in the way they've built the roster so far. Young, fast, disciplined players who can adapt. They're not chasing names, they're chasing fits. The challenge now is keeping that balance while the rest of the AFC arms itself. You look around. The Chiefs are still the standard, the Ravens are scary good, the Dolphins have speed everywhere, and the Bills, even with their inconsistencies, can't be counted out. The Patriots know where they stand in that mix. They're not at the top, not yet, but they're on the rise, and that's what makes this deadline so important. A couple of smart moves could turn them from a sneaky wild card team into a legitimate threat. Before we continue, don't forget to subscribe to Patriots Hub and give this video a like. Your support helps us keep delivering the latest updates on our New England Patriots. And don't be shy. Share your thoughts on the news in the comments below. In a move that has set the NFL rumor mill on fire, whispers are circulating that star pass rusher Shaq Barrett has abruptly parted ways with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and is reportedly heading to bolster the New England Patriots defense. Sources close to the situation, who have asked to remain anonymous, suggest that the 30-year-old edge rusher's sudden departure has left Tampa Bay scrambling for answers, while New England insiders are reportedly ecstatic at the potential addition. Barrett, a six-time Pro Bowler known for his explosive speed, off the edge, and relentless pursuit of quarterbacks, has been a cornerstone of the Buccaneers' pass rush. Over the past few seasons, he has consistently terrorized opposing quarterbacks, making him one of the league's most feared defensive players. Yet, according to the rumor, tensions behind the scenes, or perhaps an enticing opportunity in New England, may have prompted him to make the surprising switch. The Patriots, always shrewd in their defensive acquisitions, could see Barrett as the missing piece in a pass rush that has occasionally struggled to dominate at key moments. Imagine Barrett lining up alongside Matthew Judon and a fortified Patriots front line. The potential nightmare for opposing quarterbacks could be immense. Analysts are already speculating how his presence could transform New England's defensive schemes, particularly in high-stakes playoff matchups. Of course, nothing is official yet. Neither team has confirmed the move, and league insiders caution that negotiations and medicals can always alter the trajectory of a deal. But the mere buzz of Barrett potentially joining the Patriots has sent shockwaves through social media, fan forums, and sports talk radio. Buccaneers fans are reportedly stunned, expressing a mix of disbelief and frustration, while Patriots fans are practically salivating at the prospect of adding one of the league's elite defenders to Bill Belichick's ever-evolving defensive arsenal. Whether it's a mid-season shakeup or a strategic long-term play, one thing is clear. If the rumors prove true, the NFL landscape is about to experience a seismic shift. Shaq Barrett to the Patriots is the kind of headline that fuels speculation, debate, and endless what-if scenarios. And for now, fans will be watching closely, hoping the whispers turn into a reality that could redefine the balance of power in the AFC. That's it for this update. If you enjoyed the video and want to stay updated with exclusive news about our New England Patriots, be sure to subscribe to Patriots Hub and hit that like button. We can't wait to hear your thoughts in the comments. See you in the next video.